We have been working very hard to find the right balance between renewable energies, nuclear energies, and the reduction of energy consumption. And I think that this is the most ambitious energy plan for France over the last decades. It is based on three pillars: the necessity of reducing energy consumption, the deployment of renewable energies, especially 50 wind farms by 2050, and the deployment of 6 new nuclear plants, which are required if we really want to have a total energy independence. And that's clearly the strategic goal, being independent and reducing the emission of CO2.
It is a big change, though, from what we heard from President Macron at the beginning of his mandate, where he said he would cut down the reliance on nuclear and wanted to shut down some of those reactors. So what has changed in the meantime? Has the geopolitical environment at the moment played a part in this?
Of course. The changes in the geopolitical landscape has played a key role. Also the assessments made by the scientists. You know that we have a very interesting and strong report that has been delivered on 2021, explaining that if we want to face the necessity of reducing at a faster pace the CO2 emissions, if we want to be independent, and if we want to have also a strong industry over the next decades, we need to build new nuclear plants, and we need to accelerate the deployment of renewable energies. And that's on the basis of this very interesting and scientific report that we took those decisions.
There have been some huge problems with some of these EPRs, huge delays, costs, finding the skills just to have people to work on those EPRs. There's currently 20% of the reactors that are shut down in the country because of decays of the older reactors. So some say this is not the pertinent source of energy to use now, that we should focus more on renewables, whether it's wind or hydro. Why emphasize particularly on nuclear? Is it pertinent now?
First of all, our strategy is based on a mix between renewable energies, especially wind farm, offshore wind farm energies, and the nuclear plants. But you know, when you give the impression to the people that we are getting rid of the nuclear plants, of course there is less skills, less determination of the young people to go to EDF and to work in EDF, and I think that the decision taken by Emmanuel Macron is a game changer for the first time over the last decades. We are explaining to the French people, this is our strategy. If you want to work in the nuclear plants, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a worker in the nuclear plants, you could do it, you should do it, because there is a future for the nuclear plants in France and also everywhere in the world.
You've mentioned EDF just now, so they will build and operate those new reactors. They're having some issues at the moment. They have to deal with this aging fleet. At the moment, you also capped the prices for energy in France to 4%, which means that it was a huge loss for them. But 8 billion euros, they are buying the G's turbine, where President Macron was speaking yesterday. You said that you would support EDF no matter what and support their financial stability. What does that mean? Is it a cash injection? Is it renationalize EDF?
We are in the process of defining the support to EDF, but the first support is to have a long-term approach for EDF, built on these new nuclear plants and the determination of building the skills that are required for this nuclear plant. And then there is the financial support. EDF know that they can rely on the full support of the French state. So we are in the process of defining the way we are supporting EDF, but they can count on the full support of the French state.
We know that high energy prices is a sticky issue, and we remember in France we had the problems with the Gilets jaunes. Of course, we are in an electoral cycle. Is the government going to already announce some measures to help with those higher costs? Are you looking at presenting further measures?
No, for the time being, we are just implementing the measures that have been already decided. You know that we took the decision with President Macron to protect the people, the households, but also the private companies against a huge increase in the energy prices, more than 40% just for the electricity prices. That's something which is totally unbearable for the households and for the private companies. So that's why we took this decision to cap the increase of the electricity prices by 4% and to freeze the gas price. And I really think that this is a responsible decision that was absolutely required if we want to avoid difficulties for the private companies and also difficulties for the households.
Final question from me. We had those US inflation figures yesterday that were much worse than expected. How concerned are you about these numbers? Of course, the situation in Europe is slightly different, but we do see inflation creeping up. Is there a real risk to the recovery now?
I don't think so. We are vigilant on inflation. We are not concerned. And our assessment is that this inflation is clearly directly linked to the increase on energy prices. Our view is that by the end of 2022, we should have less inflation than we have now.